Good morning. So excited to go live right now. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if you can feel my excitement, but it's palpable how excited I am to be live right now. That was sarcasm. What a mess. And yet, there's hope. Hello, Will Johnson. R.I.P. There we go. R.I.P. Nah. You can wave the white flag, which I'm not saying you are. I know you always come in here, and it's kind of like a running joke, but LOL, it's over. Pack your bag. Not. Yeah, listen, I'm not making. I don't care if this is the buying opportunity of my lifetime. I'm done buying. I mean, man, I keep saying this. Like, my stock portfolio is just, it's doing so well, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna give more of attention with my fiat to my options selling strategy. It's like 8 out of 10 times I get a winner selling options, collecting premium. So anyway, Bitcoin. Good evening, Sean. Oh, you're from Ireland. Okay. I didn't know. Is Binance domain going down? That was just a warning. Yeah, it was just a warning. It could happen. I'm not saying it will. It might even be less than 50-50. I would just like, if I had funds in Binance, at least Binance US. I don't know about other countries. So I don't know how that would work. What options do you sell? RM, you want to pause this in the future? Here is my list of options traded this week. So I sell covered calls. Snapchat, EOSE has been killing it for me. Riot Blockchain, Marathon, NAC, that's a gold and silver miner. Hello, Akilu. Lots of stuff here. I'm going to share this in the future. And I might post in my Telegram this kind of stuff because I mentioned last week, hello, user 171. I transferred all of my crypto in all of my trading, one of my trading wallets, I transferred all of it to Robinhood and just started trading options. I'm like, this market, especially with Trump, could ignite a fire whenever he tweets. I was just like, I still have another trading account. That one I'm sure will be fine. But I was just like, I wanted to take more advantage of like a steady gainer thing. So Bitcoin head and shoulders pattern, maybe, so where do we go from there? Maybe down to the 50-week moving average. Would you cut your losses with Epic and move to a larger cap? That might not be a bad idea right now. I would just, right now, man, again, my bags are packed. Whatever happens, happens. But I am moving. I am gonna wait for any new purchases until a new all-time high for Ethereum. So let's see. Good afternoon. Nice video earlier. Thank you, Lavi. If you're talking about my Bitcoin update, I'm not sure, but oh, so Coinbase listed BNB. All right, Binance and Coinbase played us. That's why Coinbase listing BNB after Black Swan, something sketch. I did not know that. That's really interesting. Announcement today by Trump. Let's see. Doesn't Snapchat lose money consistently? Yeah, sure. Yes. But when you look at charts, you can see, is something overvalued or undervalued? And I think even though Snapchat loses money, they're undervalued. I mean, I remember I bought Twitter stock when it was public, and they were losing money consistently. And that was a 4x over several years, 4 or 5x, something like that. Should we just full pour everything into Riot? No. Can you expand on thesis from last video, Bitcoin funding negative? Yeah. More people are shorting Bitcoin than longing Bitcoin right now. And there are only specific times. If you were to look at the last 2 years. Here's over the last 2 years when Bitcoin funding has been negative. August going into September of 2025. August being, Bitcoin got under $50,000. Scary time. September went down to $52,000. Juan and Sapient, thanks for the follow. Do I anticipate a further dip? Watch my most recent update for Bitcoin. So then when was the next time? It was in April. From March, tariff fears, peak tariff fears, March until early May, funding was negative. And then the last time since recent that happened was June during peak World War III fears. So every time Bitcoin funding is negative, and it just barely goes negative, every time over the last 2 years, that has been not the bottom, but around the bottom for Bitcoin. So here we are again. Bitcoin funding's negative. Good luck. Good luck. You're shorting Bitcoin. So Kronos is $1 still possible. What's your time frame, Will? I'm telling you guys, I've been saying for years, the stars are not perfectly aligned right now. If you're saying Q4 of this year, no, it's not possible. But if you are open to this possibility that 2026 will not be the bear market, then, yes, I believe so. Are you anticipating a further dip? Watch my most recent video. This is foregone. Oh, man. So Sabip is foregone. You could change your name all the time. Vacuum cleaner again. Yep. I go live and the vacuum cleaner runs. What's the deal with this new Zora token? I have no idea. The more times it can't break support, it shows weakness. Sure. So I've laid out a scenario as to what would happen if we broke support. Thank you, Transparent Collectibles. XRP, full transparency, I have a stop loss in XRP at $2.25. If that happens, I'm cutting my losses. I accidentally sold it. I rebought back in. So, John Sterling, thanks for the follow. How come Devin still thinks November alt season if stars aren't aligned yet for us? Devin and I have a different perspective. We've always had a different perspective. It's just we've come to whatever somewhat similar conclusions. Somewhat. You have never heard the word alt season from me in regards to Q4 of this year. An altcoin moment, I've called for altcoins to do better than they did in December of last year. And maybe that's still on the table. But Devin and I have different perspectives. We don't agree on everything. So, John Sterling, thanks for the follow. So you're saying holding altcoins into 2026 would be a good idea if they do not perform this year? Not every altcoin. For me, again, what are my 4 big buys? XRP, which I already set a stop loss for. And I'll just try to, maybe buy in at a lower price. Avalanche, Dogecoin, and Sui. Those are my 4 big holdings for altcoins. I tend to think that let's say we get nothing this year, which I'm still hopeful, If we get nothing this year, I wouldn't be surprised if it just took a little bit of time for the 4-year cycle bros to leave and cry and give up on crypto forever, and then we run. So how long would that take? I could see that taking a quarter, 3 months, first quarter 2026, and all those people being like, oh, it's the bear market, and then they're sidelined big time. What I could see, when would the stars align? When would everything work out perfectly? Manufacturing not, being where it needs to be ideally. Rates being a lot lower than where they are right now. Liquidity, quantitative tightening. This is a very hopeful thing short term. Quantitative tightening is coming to an end. Jerome Powell already mentioned that. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened at the next Fed meeting. All right, so good. QT is over. Alts will most likely, after that, stop bleeding against Bitcoin. But where's Bitcoin going from here? Again, 4-year cycle bros needing time to go home and cry and never come back and then be sidelined for something huge. So the stars being aligned for something massive. And some of you are going, I know some of you are going to hate me for this. You're going to claim that I'm just moving the goalposts, but this has been my perspective the entire time. Something massive, should I say the entire time? I mean, I was very hopeful for Q4, and I'm still hopeful. So I don't want I want to be as unrevisionist as possible. But the stars look like they would align much more for heavy doses of risk-on activity into 2026. And then, selling may go away. Maybe it's fourth quarter of 2026. So hello, DevTuber. I don't know. I don't know how some of you are going to hear that from me. Because XRP prediction for early 2026. Am I still a fan of Chainlink? I like Chainlink. I'll always like Chainlink. I'm not a fanboy of Chainlink. All right, so XRP prediction for early 2026. That's difficult. Because, listen, I have not thrown in the towel with alt season, or not alt season, with altcoins doing well. All right? So, all right, let's say we get something. Let's say, despite we're at peak fear right now, that altcoins bounce back, they have their moment. Things are just, be after this peak fear, everything goes well. I could see XRP doing very well, hitting a new all-time high. But let's say everyone's right. Not everyone, obviously. So, I mean, the sentiment on X, I give up, whatever. I'm going to sell my crypto and buy stocks, which I kind of did. Let's say the masses are right, and it's over. Then XRP, I would think, would be in the under $1.50. Would you sell in December if we don't see alt season? Probably not. No. I mean, quantitative tightening is going to be over by December. It might be over this month. So. And listen, I really am not of this mindset. Let's say Bitcoin, let's even say that Bitcoin peaked at 126 in 2025. I have had this perspective for a very long time that we are going to see higher prices, that the biggest disappointment this cycle, is not going to be the lack of alt season. It's going to be the possibility that we're not going to be able to buy Bitcoin cheap and have this reliable 7x, 8x with Bitcoin. I think people are really going to be disappointed if that happens. So, thank you, Strews, for the follow. Since this bull run has been unusual, alt season soon, 2099. Oh, being facetious. Okay. Your thoughts still on Pendle? I mean, man, a lot of altcoins are they're hemorrhaging. So what do you want to say about Pendle? Pendle's fighting to hold some level of support at $3.38. It's a struggle. I'm not buying I have my Pendle. I have a small bag of Pendle that I haven't even touched in quite a while. So, do you see in China people queuing up to buy gold? Yeah, that seems like a peak to me. That seems like euphoria with gold. What happens with gold after that? I mean, gold has certainly gone higher than where I thought it was going to go. But like, I am still of the mindset that we are time-wise very close to a peak with gold. And then what happens usually after that, every time actually, is when gold settles down, Bitcoin does very well. So we'll see. Right now it is going sideways. Do you think the market is waiting for a tweet of Trump? No, I don't think the market's waiting for that. Trump is speaking today. And then let's see. Do you believe XRP will be $750 by the end of the year like another content? No. No, I do not believe XRP will be $750 by the end of the year. But thank you. Do you think tariffs on China will be resolved before the November 1st deadline? All right, we have Taco and we have Kako. We like to make fun of Trump. He always chickens out. China's, they're playing with fire too. November 1st, I could see that being resolved. I could see it being over by November 1st. Somebody is going to chicken out. And my bet is it going to be Trump or China? My answer is yes. I think they're both going to chicken out. ETH, what's up with ETH? You know, it's still kind of hanging around $4,000, just hanging around 4,000. I mean, ETH definitely looks better than a lot of other altcoin charts. So, man, I'm actually kind of encouraged looking at the ETH chart. You know, it's hanging around the 786 from its all-time high, from its previous cycle top. Huh. I don't know. I mean, the Russell 2000 has broken out. I really think there should be a rotation to Ethereum. Solana needs to go ahead and get to 300. Sure. Going to stack as much as I can in 3x long VeChain before it goes above 2. Oh, so VeChain's your new coin foregone. Okay. If we are all ready or goes in bear market, will Bitcoin and altcoins bottom at the same time? Actually, yeah, I could see that. Because again, quantitative tightening is over. It's going to be over soon. So yeah, what does that mean? That means, like, historically, when there's no quantitative easing or tightening, then Bitcoin and alts kind of perform. You know, alts even sometimes will outperform Bitcoin. I mean, there's the fluctuations and all that, but yeah, maybe at the same time. Are you still trying to get your TikTok account back? Yeah, Ty's helping me. Actually, Ty's sister. He helped Calvin get his account back, so I texted him. Hopefully I'll get that back. What do you think one Bitcoin will be worth in 2030? $1 million's a nice round number. Maybe not that high. But do you think all ETH will get to all-time high by the end of the year? All right, let's think about this technically. Let me not insert my own opinion, but let's go based off of past performance. So a lot of people are comparing this to the COVID crash. And let's say that that's the best case scenario. Because if it's the COVID crash, oh my goodness, we are going much higher. Now, how long did it take after the COVID crash, though? It took like 9 months after the COVID crash. No, it took about almost a year for us to reach full-blown euphoria. But we still climbed. Now, total two after the COVID crash, the total altcoin market cap after the COVID crash, it took 15 weeks. It took 15 weeks for the total two after the COVID crash to break into a new all-time high. 16 weeks, actually. So Ethereum hitting a new all-time high by the end of the year. It is less than 15 weeks Okay, it's less than 15 weeks between now and the end of the year, fewer than 15 weeks. So what does that mean? But I'm looking at this chart with the COVID crash. That was a much more significant percent. So my thought on Ethereum right now, hitting a new all-time high by the end of the year, it could happen, but I don't have to. It doesn't have to happen. My perspective, it doesn't have to happen, and it might not take as long as 15 weeks for it to happen. But if you're asking that question, my caution again is like, just it doesn't have to happen in 2025. It doesn't. All right, just keep that in mind. Yeah, 4K is really good. Is that a start of a bullish divergence on the daily just over the last few days? Yeah, I was looking at that, SkyTay. Maybe. If Bitcoin goes all that much lower, then Bitcoin's RSI is going to go lower and it won't be a bullish divergence. But Bitcoin's RSI on the daily is at 40. Every time, except for between March and April, every time over the last 2 years that Bitcoin's RSI has gotten to 40, that has been an ideal buying time. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Stratos? All right. Remember a week ago when I suggested RSR? I don't, but I'll look at, I remember somebody, was that you? I'll look at RSR. What is this? Sorry, I clicked on a really wonky chart. Oh, Stratus. No, thank you. This looks terrible. There's no floor in sight. I mean, you want to gamble on that? That's pure gambling. I would just wait until Ethereum hits a new all-time high and then look at the chart. All right, RSR. What's up with RSR? Hey, it's holding up a lot better than a lot of other altcoins. That's actually very impressive. So yeah, this is one. Volume's good. Volume looks good. Now again, I'm not touching any. I'm done with altcoins until a new all-time high for Ethereum. My bags are packed. But you want to get some RSR, that looks better than a lot of other altcoin charts. Will Martin, thanks for the follow. Bailey, thanks for the follow. How does Russell recent all-time high affect current outlook? It certainly is a cause for me to be bullish on crypto. Yeah, the Russell had a clean break of its previous all-time high. And when did that happen? Think about this. The Russell 2000, small cap stocks, heavy risk on. It happened on the day that Jerome Powell spoke about we're going to bring an end to quantitative tightening. So yeah, that's actually very encouraging. I know crypto sucks right now, but like gold is a gold local top is imminent. The Russell 2000 is breaking out. The best course right now is to just hold. You want to buy? I mean, Bitcoin is probably going to outperform a large majority of altcoins right now. Not all of them, but I don't think altcoins. Let's say Bitcoin were to rally from here and hit a new all-time high, go to the 130s. Let's say Ethereum went to $5,000. I don't think that a lot of other altcoins are really. They're not going to outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum on those runs. That you want to get the exact bottom, you're playing with fire. But if you want to just buy in a really good spot where we're starting to see an uptrend, there's potential. So there's just potential. Just do it after that. Bitcoin just accumulating, ready to break out. We'll see. After this bull market, what do you think the bottom will be for Bitcoin in the bear market? I have a lot of different thoughts on that. It depends. Are we going to enter a recession, a financial crisis? Yeah, I don't know. People's sentiment was the same last year at this time. People saying Broketober and then we doubled. Chris, you're not wrong, but I remember the exact date. I remember the exact date that we busted open, and it was October 11th. So it wasn't quite the same. This is I think a scarier moment for people, especially because we have to navigate through the people being like, it has to happen in Q4 of 2025 or it's not going to happen at all. So there's a lot more at stake from that perspective. And by October 16th of last year, we were clearly pumping. But sentiment can flip bullish on a dime. That's one of my statements. You're stealing my statement. So stay strong, brother. I'm perfectly fine, Chris. But thank you for those encouragements. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin sweeping 107 and taking off? I talked about that in a recent video, the video I published before going live. So check that out. Crypto King, thanks for the follow. Russell down a little today. So what? It's a day. It's a day. What buys you're looking at now? Stocks or Bitcoin? With stocks, it's honestly, it's just stocks that I'm doing this on a weekly basis. I do some research. I choose stocks that can make me some money if I buy 100 shares of that stock and then sell a covered call. And then my hope is that the stock continues to rise and the shares get assigned and then I'm done with that stock. I mean, it rotates. And that's mostly what I'm doing. You know, in crypto, I have my bags packed, and in my $200 to $1 million challenge, I'm waiting for Rismus to do its thing probably in November. So I'm just sitting on my hands right now with my crypto. How about Arrow? I feel like low 80s is a good entry. Now, all right, there is a level of support at 84.5 cents that Arrow is struggling to hold, and at the 200-day moving average, which is right at that same level, but I'm not touching it. I might be more interested in Arrow at 61 cents. I'm not saying it's going to go there. Maybe this is, if you have a lot of conviction in Arrow, you like Arrow, which there's reasons to like Arrow. This is a good time to like just chip away at it, DCA into it, but it can definitely go lower. HEEHEE news million plus holder. The news is when things get really hot, we're going to pump that thing like crazy. What do you want me to do? You know, no bit of news has really helped the chart all that much. I mean, you know, we did lots of things, lots of partnerships, partnered with Pal AI even, you know. And what matters is sentiment. So here's the news. I mean, let me tell you this, the Discord is killing it. So get in the Discord if you're not already. But no more news. There's not going to be any more news ever. The news is when the market gets hot, HEEHEE will do multiple X's. So no more news, everybody. Please stop asking about HEEHEE news. We've done everything we can. And if you think about this, HEEHEE launched like pretty much on the day of the peak of meme coin euphoria. So think about how miserable it's been to try to swim upstream this entire time. But there will be a time when it's just where we're going with the flow, and it's going to be incredible. All right. Video of Will Watson 10/23/2024. All right, Chris, you're like, you're not spamming, but you are commenting a lot. All right. Can you show us how to do stocks? Join the Telegram group. I want to keep track of, I have a spreadsheet with just like my options selling strategy. And I want to measure the performance over the next couple weeks. And then I'll share that with the Telegram group. Do you think cryptos with no leverage like Track are safer than most cryptos during these times? I mean, it may be. I mean, I know that Credible Crypto on X is hyping up Track a lot, and he's made a very compelling case to buy it. So, but I mean, if Track gets really hot, then there's going to be leverage on it. All right, see you later, Arturas. Okay, I see your thought process. All right. Any thought on STRX? Is that Stronghold? Stacked TRX? What is this? I have no idea what this is. I mean, the chart kind of mirrors Tron. Kind of like Tron on cocaine. It looks okay, I guess. Can you deep dive a bit about business cycle? Yeah. All right. So this is a big Raoul Pal thing. And there is something to it as I've been looking at it. So it's a monthly report. It comes out once a month on the first day of the month, which I'm not sure. Maybe if the government is still shut down on November 1st, maybe it won't come out. But it measures manufacturing. It measures production. It's a sign of health in the economy, or not of health, of growth, certain levels of growth, Manufacturing has been bottomed out since it bottomed out on June of 2023, and has just been still bottomed, and it's risen a little bit, but not a ton. So the most recent peak in manufacturing, this might sound familiar, was April of 2021. And that might have been like the May report, April of 2021. So think about this. I've talked about it. A lot of people claim, you think that November of 2021 was the peak of euphoria. It was not. The real gains from the previous cycle were in April and May of 2021. The amount of money that I made in that, just off of Safe Moon and Safe Mars and Dogecoin and Dogelon Mars and all that crap, that was in April and May of 2021. The move that move in November was just, it wasn't nearly as exciting. All right. Anyway, the peak before then for manufacturing was in February of 2018. So think about that. All right. Alt season. Alt season was January of 2018. Manufacturing peaked in February. So there is certainly a correlation. There's something to that. What is that? That's liquidity rushing into the market, and that's people taking advantage of that at in many, many ways. And so we are bottomed out. Thank you for that gift, by the way. We're bottomed out with manufacturing. We've spent a significant amount of time bottomed out in the business cycle. And hopefully over 2026, again, the stars aligning. I could see like the end of 2026 or sometime in 2027 being a time when manufacturing is hot again. So anyway, we are now in a bear market. Sell everything. Based on what? Would you make more percentage return holding ETH to ATM and then moving to alts? Thank you, Bull. What? I don't know what you're saying, Sean. I just came in, bro. I wanted to ask about old crypto. I know you already sold your bag, but I didn't sell my bag. I mean, so I had a stop loss in place on Avalanche, but I bought back in, and I bought back into XRP. I accidentally sold it a couple weeks ago. So, hello, Anthony. Yeah, 2026, 2027. Hey, Bull. It's the liquidity cycle, not the 4-year cycles. I have been screaming that from the mountaintops. Yeah, and I know you know that, Jamie. And listen, I haven't been perfect. You know, I actually, so I watched a Benjamin Cohen video for the first time, I think this year. And I got to give him props. I actually do have to give him props. He is going, listen, when things get really hot, abandon Benjamin Cohen. But everything that he said in that video, I was like, man, you've been on point. I have a little personal beef with him based off of an interact. I saw his true colors at one point, and it wasn't pretty. And that was in 2021. But I'll give props to anyone. I'll give props to Bare Naked Crypto, you know, if he's right about stuff. So I'll give props to Benjamin Cohen. But he doesn't talk about, I don't think he talks about manufacturing. So what do you think about GRT? I think I wouldn't touch it for a while. Let's see ETH hit a new all-time high. And the graph does not have good tokenomics, so there's that. So yeah, that's one of the last ones I would touch right now. Do you think Bitcoin in the following bear market will bottom below 100K? I would certainly expect Bitcoin to go under 100K at some point. Unless if we have a recession, Bitcoin will go under 100K. If we have a financial crisis like 2008, Bitcoin's going much, much lower. If we have neither of those, then I would think for a brief moment, Bitcoin will go under 100K. But I think what's going to really mess with people is that they're going to expect it to drop 80% from its peak or 70% or whatever. And I think that that might be the biggest disappointment for people in 2026. Is like, because now we have the playbook, right? I mean, we should have had the playbook. You bought Bitcoin at $15,400 at the bear market bottom. You did what, an 8X? And so I know a lot of people in their heads are thinking right now, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy Bitcoin at the bear market bottom, whatever it is, and I'm going to do an 8X. All right, good luck with that. Good luck with that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that was retail's playbook this time around because, you know, altcoins were so miserable. And so, you know, I'm only going to buy Bitcoin in the bear market of 2026. The most sarcastic air quotes I could give you right now. And that being the big disappointment this time around. Let's hope a deal can be reached. Sure. When do you think liquidity will start to flow back into the market? It's already started. It's just, you know, it's been just kind of a slow grind, you know. We came back and filled the CME gap at 92K. People shouldn't worry until Bitcoin drop below that. Maybe quickly, but Bitcoin below the 50-week moving average would be very concerning. So, you know, I think in the bear market, you know, maybe we'll fill that CME gap. BNC, no! CE, thanks for the follow. You don't think Bitcoin topped out at 125K? In terms of 2025, I hold that very loosely. My answer would be no, but I hold that very loosely. In terms of for the cycle, absolutely not. And again, I know, 4-year cycle, but bro, the 4-year cycle. All right, yeah. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. It's like we are in a different, this time is different. And I know, but this time has already proven itself to be different. I mean, my goodness. Look at how different this time is. Why? I don't know. Let's move on. Glenn said he called the crash before it happened. I don't know who that is. Cohen, very arrogant with his findings. He's very protective of his reputation. And so, yeah, his nonstop self-congratulations, I told you so nonsense, that's annoying, but I'll take that over Moon Boys. So you think Benjamin is right? What is Benjamin right about? All right. So here's what I heard from him in the one video that I watched. And I'm like, you know what? I like this perspective. His mindset is your portfolio, which I'm not saying to do any changes right now if this is not you, but your portfolio should by far be a majority Bitcoin. And then here's the perspective I heard him share. If Bitcoin rallies from here and hits a new all-time high and breaks out a new all-time high, Bitcoin is going to outperform altcoins. If it's over and Bitcoin dumps from here, Bitcoin is going to outperform altcoins. So, until one of those two things happens, his portfolio is mostly Bitcoin, I'm assuming. It makes sense. Let's see any new buys with altcoins. Let's buy altcoins after Bitcoin and Ethereum rally to new all-time highs. Or let's not buy altcoins now if it's over. That was his messaging, okay? I can appreciate that messaging. What do you think about Kava? Kava's absolutely trash. It's the worst. My account looks horrible. Is the market over? I don't think so. Is alt season over? Alt season never started. Is extended into a 2030 bag holder. Of course, this guy switches up now. You talking about me, Richard? All right. It was different the moment we hit all-time high before the halving. That's right. So that's why, it makes sense to me that Bitcoin would, I've been saying 2027, Bitcoin's going to be much higher than whatever it peaks at in 2025. And I'm talking about if 126 was the peak, I would think Bitcoin's going to be double of that price in 2027. And that's not really too far of a stretch considering all right, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high before the previous halving. And what if it happens even sooner this time? Is FEC good to DCA? No. Just hold your bag all the way down DCA in the next year bear market lows. I'm not doing that. Do you believe we will see more downside before we go up? Downside before we go up. With Bitcoin, I think we're pretty close to a bottom. Now, could we go to 108 or something like that, bounce off the 200-day moving average, fill the liquidity, sweep the lows of that liquidity wick, at least on Coinbase? I could see that. But no, I think that we're at a local bottom here. RSI is at 40. I think I already said that. So do you think DOT can still have a bright future? I've never thought that DOT could have a bright future. Now, Polkadot, man, before that liquidation wick, I thought Polkadot looked pretty good. No, Polkadot, nobody uses Polkadot. I've always been down on Polkadot. Now, I think at some point, things go well, market moves up, Polkadot can do well. But no, I'm not a fan of Polkadot. VeChain just feels like the right investment right now for risk reward. I can get on board with that. Thank you, Jay Bait for the follow. VeChain or Algo? Right now, I'd say VeChain. Would you rotate your alts in ETH until all-time high and then rotate? No. I would not. Knowing you, Sean, I would not do that. I don't understand this market. Why don't you understand this market? To me, listen, yeah, I am still bullish for Q4. Not mega bull like all the Moon Boys. But it makes sense to me at least. This market makes sense to me. I know that sucks. But this is a much different economic environment than the low rate free money environment of 2017 and 2021 and 2013. I was a mortgage agent in 2013, giving people free 2.5% rate loans. Now what do we have? So this market is very understandable in that regard. If you're able to break free from this 4-year, it has to happen every 4-year nonsense. So now what is the question? Listen, it's going to be incredibly difficult for interest rates to be at 0%, but it's going to be, rates will bottom out at some point. And there will be quantitative easing at some point. And so when that time comes, not financial advice, when that time comes, that's when we'll talk about the golden bull run, the bull run to end all bull runs. Buy now, buy your altcoins, hold them for a 100x. There will be 100x's. In altcoins, in utility altcoins, there will be absolute euphoria, absolute mania, and then we'll crash really hard, and then that's all it's going to be. That's all that we have in this environment that we are in. There is very little, just slow and steady wins the race. There is only euphoria and despair. Due to manipulation, I don't think there's alt season. What do you think? There will be an alt season. Not this year. Formal QE this year? No. No. Ending of QT? Yes. What's going on, handsome? Not much, gorgeous. How are we feeling today? Feeling terrible. You think I enjoy going live on a day like today? I do not. I do not. It'll be interesting going live with Devin. I actually am kind of looking forward to that. So forget 4-year cycle, be patient. 100%, man. There's a lot of inside trading since Trump got in the office. That's going to happen. I saw a tweet. Eric Trump says that the Trump family made $1 billion from crypto in the last year. I can't believe he actually said that. And I'm like sitting here with that Nicolas Cage meme. You don't say! Please talk about Binance. I mean, I already made a video. I've warned about it. Get your crypto off of Binance. I'd be getting my crypto off of Binance. I don't use Binance. I say Q2 when Powell leaves. We'll see. Maybe. Trump has no control over the Federal Reserve. Let me back up on that. He has very little control over the Federal Reserve. What's the chance there's no more cycle and the market manipulators just keep chopping the market? Nah. You know what? The market manipulators, it's not like they only make money on the way down. They can make plenty of money on the way up. Trump fault? No, it's not. Have you sold any XRP? $2.25 limit order. Stop loss, I should say. Anyone saying this time's different in the 4-year cycle? I don't know what you're asking. But what do people still believe in the 4-year? I'm sure there's still people holding on to the 4-year cycle, but it's nonsense. For Bitcoin, I mean, you could argue that, not for altcoins. When will quantitative easing begin? Not for quite a while, several months, maybe even a year. Did institutions and Trump ruin crypto? Nope. I mean, they don't make it easier. They don't make it funner. It's not as much the wild, wild west. But I know that we're all looking for scapegoats, right? Well, what's to blame? A lot of people want to blame Pump.Fun, want to blame that there's way too many cryptos in existence, and that contributes to it. But no, it's the same thing I've been saying over and over again. Liquidity, business cycle, money flow, interest rates. Man, even now I'm going to move on from that. When will bear cycle occur? Because if you think Bitcoin will be at 1 million by 2030, it has to 10x in a few years. Yeah. Look at gold. You know, it's not like, so 1 million, that's a what? $20 trillion market cap, something like that. Gold went up how much recently? How much is its market cap? It's multiple trillions of dollars. And given the fact that we're measuring this in dollars, that's entirely possible. And when will bear cycle occur? I know you want a direct answer from me, user 600. There's just too many variables in place. The thing that I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be 2026. It's most likely, should I say most likely? For Bitcoin, it might not be 2026. I mean, what does a bear market look like for Bitcoin? Maybe it looks more like a bear market in the stock market, you know? Bear market for NASDAQ. NASDAQ went down 26% in the first quarter of 2025. Why not Binance? I'm in EU using crypto.com. Watch my third most recent video. I'm sure the Trumps don't mean they made billions from trading. Oh, yeah. How much money does the manipulators need? They're billionaires. Yeah, Neo, here's the deal. If you ever watched, it's not an amazing movie. I like it more than a lot of other people. But, you know, there's Wall Street with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. And then there's the second one that came out with Shia LaBeouf or whatever his name is. There's a question that he asks this super wealthy man in the movie. Like, I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched that movie. He's like, how much is enough? Or what are you aiming to reach? This billionaire, multi-billionaire. And his answer was more. That's the limit. There is no limit. They always want more. But that doesn't mean that they're going to wipe out any opportunity for us to make gains. We just need to understand the market that we are in right now. This year is not fun anymore. When was it fun? How is your HEEHEE coin like every other coin, Mike? What about 2040? Oh, come on. No, I'm not talking about 2040. You know, maybe by 2040, the effects of the fears of quantum computing would even come into effect. I don't know. I mean, I think Bitcoin will survive that. How old will I be in 2040? I'll be 58. I don't want to think about 2040. Saw your video. Everyone's saying Sui and Ondo to the moon, but nothing happened. It's a big scam. Crypto's a scam, Mike. Crypto is a scam. Just like the dot-com bubble was a scam. Internet companies valued at billions of dollars was a scam. On the other side of that, on the other side of the dot-com bust, you know, there was lots of good stuff created. Saw your video about Binance. Will it affect EU? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Nope, not 2035. So we will wait. All go 2026. Let's see. I don't know. This is about where Alex has had enough of these questions. I mean, I try to go live every day for an hour, not every day, but you know, most days, and it's been 55 minutes. So, hey, Drew, I'm feeling the same way when I answered your question the first time, but thank you. Thank you, Transparent Collectibles. Everyone will soon be caught offside when alts rocket, and it will be the most hated rally. When that time comes, yes. When will that time come? You know? But yeah, I can see that. But you think there will definitely be a bear cycle between now and 2030 before Bitcoin hits $1 million? There will be moments. All right, this is my the last question, user 600. When somebody asks questions over and over again, wanting me to be super precise, like, all right, refine this. That's what Foregone does, and that's the thing about him that drives me crazy. So you're wanting me to refine something that I'm not willing to refine, and so I'm done. No more questions about this. We all appreciate dealing with us knuckle daggers. I don't know what that is, but you're welcome. Thoughts on Corium and Cadena? Cadena's trash. I've never been a fan of Cadena. People have given me a lot of hate for hating on Cadena. And how's that worked out? Corium, I mean, for this run, I don't know. For right now, no, thank you. It's like every other altcoin chart. Alex, we have hope going up eventually, yes. What do you think about Ethereum not going below 3K ever again? Oh, I think it's going to go below 3K at some point. $98K on the cards is the final low IMO, depending on what Trump announces. All right, yeah, there's something to that. Because, think about this. All right, the tariff fears earlier this year. Where did Bitcoin bottom out? It bottomed out at like 74,000 and change, but it also held the 50-week moving average, which at that time was around $74,000. All right, here we are, and maybe we're going to have another, tariff battle and all that stuff, and things are just going to get worse before they get better. And so is there a scenario where Bitcoin could continue to grind down similar to what we saw in April and then bottom out where? Bottom out at the 50-week moving average? Yeah, it's possible. And that would be the peak tariff fears again, Do I think that's going to happen? I lean towards no. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. How's Link looking? Link's looking like every other altcoin. Still thinking 30 to 40? Eventually, yes. Now, maybe, again, who knows, but maybe it's found support. 200-day moving average, $18. This is one, just like I said about Arrow earlier, I'd be okay like nibbling away at Chainlink right now. Optimism or Arbitrum? I guess Arbitrum. I don't know. I'm not a fan of either of those. Tokenomics. How long you been in the game for? I guess I could say 2010. Obviously not crypto. I wish 2010 for crypto. But I bought my first crypto in 2013. Do you think alts will revisit their Black Friday whips before pump? Most of them, no. I was listening to Herb saying the bull markets are lengthier compared to the past, bear time less. Yeah, I could see that. Could we get a 0.5 rate cut? I don't think so. I base it off the Fed Watch tool. Let's see, 13 days. 96.7% chance that they will cut by 25 basis points. I'm going to stick with that. Do we get a rally before Christmas on alts? All right, we're near that time. Probably not, Freestyler. Like a rally, an uptrend, yes. A big explosive rally? Probably not. All right, I'm going to be done. Thank you, guys. I'll see you. See you later.